think you never helped anybody else go to college? Wouldn't you hate to think that? I serve on the Board of Regents of the Texas A&M system. I serve on the board of Abilene Christian University. And I talk to the guys that graduate. And I said, look, if somebody helped you, then somewhere along the line, it's our responsibility to help somebody else. You know how many guys want to go to school that just flat can't go to school? Maybe it's a kind word, maybe it's pointing them in the right direction, maybe it's using your influence somewhere to help somebody get a scholarship. Somewhere along the line, we've got to help somebody else make their path just a little bit easier. I serve on the Easterwood Foundation, and we award scholarships at Texas A&M. And I read about 50 or 55 guys that are applying for these scholarships that Mr. Easterwood had left some money for. You'd be surprised how many youngsters out there want to go to school. Just want to, they just flat can't. So, to help somebody like that somewhere along the line. Or you help the RISE program. Here's some little retarded children that just can't help themselves. Somewhere along the line, we give a little money for a home for the unwed mother. You know who's in a bind? When you talk about in a bind, that's a single mother that has to work. What does she do with her children? She spends all her money to daycare. Somewhere along the line, that single mother that has to work is in a bind, brother. So every once in a while, without them knowing it, you may help somebody somewhere. And as we were talking about just a little earlier, then Jesus will see what you do, and he will reward you for it. If you're going to have children, it's your responsibility to teach them to do right. It's your responsibility as a parent. My children, I've told them from time to time that if I'm your best friend, you ain't got no friends. 'Cause I'm your daddy. And I'm going to make them do right. And when they get to, some of you guys probably saw my son-in-laws out there, and they had to work for me to marry my daughters. And it's just simple as that. I'd get them up before daylight. I wouldn't even let them think about quitting till after dark. Girls would say, Daddy, what do you think? I said, I think you need to cull him. Cut him loose. They said, how come? I said, he ain't got a work ethic. I'm not going to marry my daughter if he hasn't got a work ethic. It's my responsibility to put my children in a good environment where they've got a chance. And I know where they are and what they're doing and what time they're coming in. And that guy who used to call on my daughters, I'd say, hey, old buddy, you and I visit a little bit before you take them out. You need to do the same thing. You don't have to be rude about it, but you just let them know what the situation is. This day and time, trying to raise pure children is tough, brother. A lot easier when I was raising mine than it is in your environment right now. So, Saran, we applaud what you do, and obviously, hopefully, you'll go around the country telling people that same story. Because people need to know that there's hope. We need to know what's fair. If we could just have one wish for ourselves, we want to spend eternity and have no such thing as an atheist when he's dying. A lot of atheists do it, but all of a sudden when it comes right down to the nitty gritty, you know you don't have long to go. Just might be. Saran was talking about the faith. This is something that we hope for, and it's something we hadn't seen. That's the reason you guys are successful now. You got faith. Everything doesn't always work out. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Does that make it bad? No, it doesn't make it bad at all. Teach your children to have good friends. See that they're in church. Have some faith. If you want your children to go to heaven, you got to be an example for them. Comes a time when you got to let them go. Comes a time when you got to let a wild animal go. I had a raccoon, love that raccoon. A raccoon, I'd crawl him out of a tree. A raccoon would be up in a tree, and I'd say, "Raccoon, come down out of that tree." He'd come down out. Well, Linda used to feed him. I'd say, "Linda, I got to be gone. You got to feed him a raccoon." She'd get an eyedropper. You know, when they open their eyes, first thing they see, you know, they think that raccoon thought I was his parent. You know, but the raccoon went back and forth in that cage. Came time I had to let that raccoon go. Yeah, named him after Gerald. Comes a time you got to let your children go. But it's your responsibility to teach them while you got them. You know, the Jewish people used to say we teach them in the morning, teach them in the afternoon, teach them when we're traveling, teach them when you're not going to teach them, don't have them. Nothing wrong with not having children. Not a thing in the world wrong with that. You're going to have them, teach them to do right. So I think you guys do right. It's a pleasure to be with you guys this weekend. But what we need to do is sort of like a football player. I don't subscribe to the theory that we just weren't ready to play. You know, every once in a while you read somebody say, well, how can you just not be ready? You play 10, 12 games a year, you weren't ready? You just weren't ready? How can you do that? How can your last game not be your best game? How can that happen? Unless everybody gets hurt. You get better and better and better. You guys, in whatever profession you choose,